We will now review the 4 recommendations from the report by the Special Committee of Council on Nominations. Recommendation number 1. Move to a simplified, transparent nomination approach using a formal, structured assessment based on needed skills, knowledge, and attributes. There are 7 proposed actions related to recommendation number 1. The first is to continue to enable all licensed professionals to submit their nomination to run for council, whether they are recruited by the nominating committee or self-nominated. Second, on the final list of nominees for election, only include those who have been assessed by the nominating committee to have the necessary skills, competencies, knowledge, and attributes to serve on council. The third proposed action is to develop more comprehensive and rigorous procedures to identify council's requirements. This proposed action could involve increasing the rigor used to identify the skills, knowledge, and attributes all nominees must have, and to identify the specialized skills and knowledge that need to be on the next council. Not requiring all nominees to have deep understanding of every area of expertise required on council. Putting higher priority on competencies and attributes that are highly valued. Incorporating a diversity of perspectives, considering factors such as age, race, industry, gender, and geography. Eliminating or reduce the need for 25 signatures supporting each nominee. Conducting council exit interviews to identify important skills outgoing councillors possess. Benchmarking council competencies against similar organizations. Proposed action number 4 is to establish clear procedures and roles to ensure APEGA staff do not unintentionally influence decisions, activities, or outcomes of the nominating committee. Proposed action number 5 is to modify the way nominees are interviewed to be more transparent, fair, and robust. This could include conducting 2 nominee interviews, sending questions in advance, and ensuring a consistent interview format with consistent questions and interviewers. Proposed action number 6 is to revise the recommendation process to reduce the potential for bias. This could involve training in cultural competence and unconscious bias, and documenting clear processes for assessing, reviewing, and discussing nominees. The 7th and final action under recommendation number 1 is to amend the bylaws to provide clear, consistent direction to the nominating committee on its role and authority. The second recommendation made by the special committee is to implement an ongoing education and communication strategy to communicate the nomination process to licensed professionals. There are 3 proposed actions supporting recommendation number 2. First, expand the communication strategy and plan to be more comprehensive, using a multi-channel approach to increase awareness of the opportunity to serve on council and to reinforce the importance of council roles to the professions. Next is to create new learning opportunities to educate licensed professionals on board governance, including how nominations work. Finally, the third supporting action is to provide some key messages in multiple languages based on the diversity of APEGA's licensed professionals to help attract those who are internationally trained. Recommendation number 3. Update the nominating committee composition, authority, and process. There are 2 suggested actions that support this recommendation. The first is that council requirements are considered when selecting the nominating committee, and that criteria and clear procedures are established for composing the nominating committee. This could include involving branch chairs, seeking licensed professional volunteers from major demographic groups, and at times using non-APEGA subject matter experts. Recommendation number 4. Create a nomination approach that is inviting and easily accessible for licensed professionals and that actively works to attract a more diverse pool of qualified nominees for council and other volunteer roles as a means of succession planning. There are 5 suggested actions that support the final recommendation. First is to develop a strategy and structured process to expand the recruitment of nominees beyond the networks of the nominating committee. Second is to promote the importance of diversity on council to stakeholders and licensed professionals, including clarifying and communicating what is meant by diversity and its value to APEGA. Third is to establish a program to mentor and support prospective nominees through the nominations process. Fourth, to proactively identify key volunteer roles and mentoring opportunities that would help prospective nominees develop the experience and skills they need to serve on council. The final suggested action is to develop a way to track actively engaged volunteers to identify potential council nominees.